And one. My name is Ernest Lamoth, and I'm the reporter for the Southland Journal.
And I'm Brian Mullins, Citizens for Civic Education.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about this newly formed young leadership government that I heard of and tell people all about it?
Sure. Well, this is formed out of one of the other organizations, one of the hats that I wear called Young Government, right? And we decided to form the League of Independents. That's because we've seen a trend over the last, 30 years, especially right now, it is trending that the Democratic Party in Illinois has a stronghold over the electorate. At the federal level, the Democrats hold the presidency, the U.S. House, and the U.S. Senate. At the state level, they also hold the governor's seat, the state house, and the state senate, right? And we don't believe that they are serving the will of the people. So instead of forming a new party, that's where this independence come in, right? We need independence around our issues. And that's what it's all formed about. But this comes out of a young government movement, which is organize the people to understand you have more than one choice for voters, for voting, in these election cycles. Especially in our community, in the Black community in the Southland, we tend to only vote Democratic. And it's because no one spends the time, the money, or the energy to educate the electorate that there are, viable alternatives. So, we formed this organization in order to get the word out to the community that, hey, here are some other candidates that are not, 100% aligned with the Democratic Party. Some of the values will be, of course, and some of the issues, but it's not a party move. It is a League of Independents. And then we want to get voters to understand, hey, you can be an independent voter, just don't vote party lines.
Yes. And I know it's an obvious question, but I just kind of want to hear your thoughts, Brian.
Sure.
Why is it important to not just vote party lines and to really understand each issue?
Well, to be honest, there hasn't been a political party yet that actually addresses all of the issues that the Black community faces, especially the Black Southland. So we haven't had any success with anyone. One of the things we do as Black people, we put all our eggs in one basket. So if you only vote Democratic, for example, and the Southland is Democratic, right? Then you put all your eggs in one basket. So if that elected official doesn't do what we need done for the Southland, then what do you do next? And I think what's happened is we've gotten into a 30-year cycle that no matter the outcome, which means the quality of life in our communities, right? Housing, education, crime, any issue you are what I call our piece of the pie. When you have state government at, $40 billion in goods and services a year, and we get less than 1% of the contracts, what do we keep voting for the exact same people over? So you want to diversify your vote, hedge, and you want to leverage, you want to bring some leverage to the table to force, even though you understand, even though we're Democrats, or people are Democrats, not me, I actually am independent. So, our Black people are Democratic voters. We don't get any return for our vote, right? We look at voting as an exchange. What are you going to give back to the community for this vote? But when you don't have an independent or Republican, they don't have to give you anything back because there's no one else for you to vote for but the Democrat. And I think that's the biggest problem we've been facing in the Southland is we don't have alternative candidates to vote for.
And there's a very interesting initiative that you guys are doing called kind of the Barbershop Tour. For people who don't know about that, can you talk about exactly what that is?
Sure. We started the Barbershop Tour a few years ago. It's been highly successful. Understanding that in the Black community, the barbershop is the unspoken place where we all meet, we talk, we discuss issues while getting a haircut. We've hooked up with barbershops and barbers in the city and the suburban areas to allow us to come in, bring elected officials and talk about these issues. So even if the elected is not there, we'll go in and get the pulse of the community, get these conversations moving inside of our community, but using the barbershop as the tool, and the venue to have these conversations. And I believe it's been highly successful. We've taken elected officials into these places that they would never go before. And when you walk out, the people in the barbershop, the Black voters are saying, hey man, this is pretty good because elected officials never come and speak to us. They never tell us or talk to us or ask our opinion. So we use it as a sounding board to find out the pulse of the community, as well as a way to expose political candidates who don't have, like our current governor, J.B. Pritzker just dumped $90 million of his own money. So he's at about $113 million of his own money. And most candidates can't beat that. So we're trying to bring candidates into the community. We're not telling who to vote for, but we want to expose you to Republicans, independents, Democrats, and and so that Black voters can understand they do have choices.
Oh, wonderful. So what is the next step when it comes to the organization? What are you looking to do in this new year?
So it being a new year, we're about to kick off, but the election cycle and petitions have come out. So we're going to do a massive voter registration drive to start, right? And at that point, we also will be doing a survey. So one thing is, you understand, they don't survey Black people. So we also think we know all of it, but we want to take the extra step to point people in a direction. But we want to know what does the Black electorate in Illinois want? What do you feel? What do you think? So that we can then take those demands to every elected official. So the first thing you'll see out here is the Black Voter Project, which will be voter registration and voter polling that we are doing organically, as well as we're trying to make what we're calling precinct ambassadors or ward ambassadors. I mean, kind of structurally just like the parties, but we want it to be for our issues only coming out of our community. So we're making a valiant effort with some partners that we're putting together in order to be an institution around electoral politics, nonpartisan electoral politics, and issue-based organizing, which doesn't exist in our community. It might sound crazy, but it doesn't exist. It used to be the old school Democratic ward offices and like the Thornton Township organizations, but those are not the same anymore, right? So, and they were never controlled by us. They were always controlled by the institution of the party. So that could be someone, of a different race or a different ideology. It's time for us to take back our own communities by organizing ourselves, getting the Black electorate educated, and then bringing those demands to any elected official. I don't care if you are a Democrat, a Republican, or independent. If you're going to support the issues to help the Southland, we're going to support you. And that's how we want Black people to think, so that we can diversify. And like I said, it also gives us leverage. If we never attempt stuff like this, they're just going to ignore us like they've been doing.
No, it's a fantastic program, right? Is there anything else you want to add that maybe I didn't ask?
Well, I just want to point out, just make a quick statement. Last week, we saw President Biden and the Democratic Party going around the country talking about voter suppression. They were down in Georgia, right? And it's on every single news station, and we're singing "We Shall Overcome," and and in Illinois, I sit back and say, what better form of voter suppression than what J.B. Pritzker just did by dropping $100 million of his own money, a billionaire now, dropped $100 million of his own money to stave off any challengers. So if there are no challengers, you have suppressed our vote. So, our form of voter suppression is in the form of billionaires and Democrats that don't allow anyone else on the ballot. So I want to throw that out there because that's really important when people hear these buzzwords all over the place. And, and just look forward soon in the next week or two, you'll see some website links going out and some more communications. And we need people to sign up, join in, help us. All we need you to do is talk to your neighbor, maybe fill out a survey, and we got to join into our own fight.
Ryan, it's a fantastic program. Thank you very much for taking some time today.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.